linear regression is a machine learning algorithm based on supervised learning. Now, regression supports finding the correlation among variables. A regression problem is when the output variable is a real or continuous value. So it basically finds how two variables or more variables are connected to each other. It finds a relation between the variables. Now there are different types of regression models like linear regression, polynomial regression, and logistic regressions. If there is a single input variable, such linear regression is called simple linear regression. If there is more than one input variable, such linear regression is called multiple linear regression. Now in simple linear regression, we predict scores on one variable from the scores on a second variable. The variable we are predicting is called the criteria variable, which is also the y, and the variable we are basing our predictions on is called the predictor variable, which is x. Now when there is only one predictor variable, the prediction method is called simple regression. In simple linear regression, the predictions of y when plotted as a function of x form a straight line. So in simple linear regression, we have a straight line whenever we plot a prediction of y against x. Then let's take an example of linear regression here. Now we can see that 1 is mapped to 1, 2 is mapped to 2, then 3 is mapped to 1.3, and like that. Now a positive relationship between x and y can be seen here. If you were going to predict y from x, the higher value of x, the higher the value of y. Yes, if we can see, we can draw a line here. The most fitting line can be drawn somewhat here. So we can assume that whenever the x is increasing, the value of y is also increasing. Now a scatter plot of the example data can be seen here, and here we can see the most fitting line. Now the black line consists of the predictions, the points are the actual data, and the vertical lines between the points and the black line represent the error of prediction. So the error of predictions can be seen here in these vertical lines. Now what is positive linear relationship? If the dependent variable expands on the y-axis and the independent variable as the independent variable progress on x-axis, then the relationship is termed as positive linear relationship. It simply means that whenever x will increase, y will also increase. Whenever such a thing is happening, it is a positive linear relationship. What is a negative linear relationship? That when x increases, y decreases. That is negative. Now what is the best fitting line? The most commonly used criteria for the best fitting line is the line that minimizes the sum of squared errors of prediction. So in this case, this is the best fitting line. We can say that because when we take sum of the errors, sum of squares of the errors, then using this line, the sum is minimum. So the best fitting line is the line which minimizes the sum of squared errors of prediction. Now the formula for regression is obviously y is equal to mx plus c. Now this is the line, this is the formula of a simple line as well. Now here y dash is the predicted score, m is the slope of the line, and c is the y-intercept. The equation for the line in previous figure was in this figure, the equation was 0.425x plus 0.785. Now for x is equal to 1, we can say that predicted value is 1.21, where and then for x is equal to 2, the predicted value was 1.64, whereas the real values were 1 and 2. And similarly other for different x's, the y dash was calculated. Now we in the age of computers, the regression line is typically computed with statistical software. The calculations are based on the statistics shown below. Now the calculation is done using the mean. So mx is the mean of x, my is the mean of y, Sx is the standard deviation of x and Sy is the standard deviation of y. And R is the correlation between x and y. And then the slope can be calculated as follows. M is equal to R into Sy divided by Sx. Now as we all know that this standard deviation is calculated using the formula where mu is the mean. So if we are doing xi minus mu, it means that we are subtracting the mean. Then n is the total number of data, like whatever data is there, total number of instances, that is n. But usually we take, if we are taking a sample of data instead of the whole population, we take n minus 1 here, and if we are taking the whole population, then we take n here. So this is how standard deviation is calculated. Then the slope is calculated using the correlation, which is R. So correlation into standard deviation of y divided by standard deviation of x. Then the intercept is calculated by mean of y minus slope into mean of x. So the intercept is calculated by mean of y minus slope into mean of x. Now for this particular data, we can say that the slope is this 0.425 and then the intercept is 0.75. We can see here as well. But the thing is, how do we calculate R? R is calculated like it's a very lengthy formula, but you can see here that R is calculated using the summation of xy into n minus minus summation of x into summation of y. Then it is divided by this whole under root n into summation of x square minus summation of x whole square, and this whole is multiplied with n into summation of y square minus summation of y whole square. Now that is the difference. Here we take squares of individual values of x and then take sum. Here we take the sum of all the individual values of x and then take square. And this is also the summation of the product of x and y, and here we are taking summation individually and then taking out the product. So after creating m, after calculating m and c, we can the regression equation is simpler if variables are standardized, so that their means are equal to 0. So if the variables are standardized, it means their mean will be equal to 0, and the standard deviations will also be equal to 1. So for that, then the calculation for the regression equation will be much easier. Then we can say that then the regression line will be z y dash is equal to r into zx, where z y dash is the predicted standard score for y, r is again the correlation, and sx is the standardized score for x. Now we saw the formula for creating correlation, for calculating correlation. Again I need to specify that this formula is extremely important, so please by heart this formula. N into sigma xy minus sigma x into sigma y upon whole under root n sigma x square minus sigma x whole square whole multiplied by n sigma y square minus sigma y whole square. Okay. So I assume that you will be able to learn these formulas, and then you will be able to calculate the slope and intercept. And then if you have the slope and intercept, it is easy to calculate the equation, because we don't have to calculate, we just have to place the slope and intercept in the equation. Now we now consider how we could predict a student's university GPA if we knew his or her high school GPA. You can see from the figure that there is a strong positive relationship between the two. This is the high school GPA and this is the university GPA, and the correlation here is 0.78. Now the regression equation can be calculated like this, so we have calculated that. Then we have taken this data set, and this was the university GPA and this was the predicted university GPA. Now you can see that there is not much difference between the two. A slight difference can be ignored, and we can say that the regression equation performs its job correctly. Now now we will calculate R with this. So we took the mean of high school GPA, then we took the mean of university GPA, then same standard deviation, then we calculate the slope R and C. Then yeah, to calculate the R value we created a table like this: x, y, then xy, then x square, then y square, and then here we took the summation of all the columns. Now this is the Python code. This is not necessary, but I will just to be sure I will explain it. So we took all the values of this is different this is different regression model. This was for university GPA. Now after the summations and all this, you have to just simply keep the summations in the formula to calculate R, then you have to keep in the formula here to calculate M, and so on. So here we move on to our next experience versus salary. So we took a certain experience here in years, and then we created an array and stored in the variable experience, and then the salary was also an array stored in salary. We just here we are just plotting the graph. So we plot the graph like this, and then we have the graph here. After that we import linear regression library from sklearn, and then we create a model. So the model is nothing, it's very easy to create a model using sklearn. So here we have created a linear regression model, then we fit the experience and salary in the model, and then we predict using the experience again. So this is something we use to train the data, and this is again something we are using to predict the data. Now we are calculating the mean squared error of salary and salary pred. So we have already imported mean squared error library here, which is actually the function here, that from the metrics library of sklearn, and then that function is used to calculate the mean squared error of the whole array salary and salary predicted. Then we get the slope and intercept and mean squared error, and then we print it. It's nothing. So basically our plot will be somewhat like this. So we can see here that somehow it is the best fitting line, and we will not get much of mean squared error. So the mean squared error is basically 0.13, you can say, after rounding off. So it's not much. Then we come to logistic regression. Now logistic regression is a popular classification algorithm used to predict a binary outcome. Binary outcome means either it is happening or it is not happening. A 0-1 outcome will be there when we use logistic regression. There are various metrics to evaluate a logistic regression model, such as confusion matrix. Okay. Now we can also use a area under curve, ROC curve, and then we can then in such situations we should try using algorithms. Yeah, have you ever tried using linear regression on a categorical dependent variable? In such situations you should try logistic regression, decision trees, SVM, random forest, etc. Now to try predictive analytics in identifying the employees most likely to get promoted, logistic regression is a classification algorithm. It is used to predict a binary outcome, as I told, 0-1 outcome, and we move to logistic regression. Now we can think of logistic regression as a special case of linear regression when the outcome variable is categorical. It means whether it belongs to this category or that category. So it is a special case of linear regression. Logistic regression is part of a large class of algorithms known as generalized linear model. So GLM. It is a part of a larger class of algorithms known as generalized linear model. Now, logistic regression is named for the function used at the core of the method, the logistic function. It is an S-shaped curve that can take any real value number and map it into a value between 0 and 1. But 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 never exactly at those limits. So it will be always between 0 and 1 and it will never be at the limits. So we can say that here the function we can see is that it starts with somewhat here and then it ends at 1, but the values given by the logistic regression will be somewhat in between. So we have to classify it on our own whether to move ahead or to move backward. Now there are different types of logistic regressions as well, like binary, multinomial and ordinal. Now binary logistic regression is when the categorical response has only two possible outcomes, for example spam or not, 0 or 1. Multinomial logistic regression is three or more categories without ordering. For example, yeah, veg, non-veg, vegan. Then ordinal logistic regression, three or more categories with ordering, like movie ratings and all. So why do we use logistic regression instead of linear regression? If we have only categories like this 0, either y can be 0 or 1, then we cannot use linear regression here. We don't know how it will work. So it will be better to use logistic regression, because then it will be easier for one to see how the values change. Now in 1972, this is all history, it's not important. Okay, so the proposed this model with an effort to provide a means of using linear regression to the problems which were not directly okay. So this is how linear regression was suggested and then came into existence. Then a different model which included logistic regression was also proposed, and then the fundamental equation of generalized linear model was g of e of y is equal to alpha plus beta x1 plus gamma x2. Now you can just compare it to the perceptron thing. The alpha can be assumed as the bias, then this can be weight for x1 and this can be weight for x2. Now g is here the link function and e of y is the expectation of target variable. Now this is obviously the linear predictor, so alpha, beta and gamma are to be predicted. Now the odds are defined as the ratio of the probability of an event occurring to the probability of the event not occurring. For example, let's assume that the probability of winning a game is 0.02. Then the probability of not winning is 0.98. Now the odds of winning the game the odds of winning a game is probability of winning upon probability of not winning, which will be somewhat 0.02 only. Now logistic regression is a popular algorithm as it converts the values of the log of odds, which can range from -infinity to +infinity, to a range of 0 and 1. Now when we are doing logistic regression, the very important function to keep in mind is the sigmoid function. Now this is the sigmoid function, and we can see that it is 1 upon 1 plus e to the power minus y, where y is the given equation here, and we can just take the log of odds, this is odds, p upon 1 minus p is the odds, probability of happening, probability of not happening, and we take the log of it, which is equal to y, and then we put it in place of y here, and we get b0 plus b1x here. Now we are provided a sample of 1000 customers. We need to predict the probability whether a customer will buy a particular magazine or not. We have a categorical outcome variable. We will use logistic regression. the simple linear regression equation with dependent variables enclosed in a link function. So what we can say is g of y is equal to beta naught plus beta into age, whatever the age of the person is. We are taking age just as one input variable. Now in logistic regression, we are only concerned about the probability of outcome dependent variable, success or failure. This function is established using two things, probability of success and probability of failure. So p and 1 minus p. Then since the probability must always be positive, we will put the linear equation in exponential form, because when we put the linear equation in exponential form, we will get positive output. Now for any value of slope, again the exponent can never be negative, so we put it in exponential form, and then we also have to make the probability less than 1. So what we do here, we just write the same thing in the denominator and add 1 to the denominator. Now p is equal to exponent of b naught plus beta naught plus beta age upon exponent of beta naught plus beta age plus 1. So now since the denominator is greater than the numerator, we can say that the probability will be between 0 and 1. Now using these three equations, the first equation here, the second here, and the third here, using these three equations we can redefine the probability as p is equal to e to the power y upon 1 plus e to the power y. Now where probability is the probability, p is the probability of success. Now this can be our logistic function. This d equation here can be our logistic function. Now if p is the probability of success, 1 minus p will be the probability of failure, which can be written as q is equal to 1 minus p. So we will just do a simple minus here, so we'll just 1 minus e to the power of y upon 1 plus e to the power y. Now here the q is the probability of failure, keep that in mind. So when we divide p upon q, when we divide d by e, we can get the odds. So what are the odds? So we are getting p upon 1 minus p, we can get that as this upon this 1 minus this. So if we take some LCMs and then we calculate it, we'll get it e to the power y. Now when we take the log of both sides, we'll get log of p upon 1 minus p is equal to y. Now log of p upon 1 minus p is nothing but the link function. We did that earlier only, that this is the link function here. The log of odds is the link function. So this is the link function. So logarithmic transformation on the outcome variable allows us to model a non-linear association in a linear way. So here we have used the log function so that we know that this function will not be a linear function. That's why we take log and we make it linear. Then when we substitute the value of y with the in the original this equation, we get log of p minus 1 upon p upon 1 minus p is equal to beta naught plus beta age. Now to recover p from previous equation, we apply exponential on both sides again, and then we get something like this here, e to the power log of p upon 1 minus p e to the power b naught plus b1x. Now from the inverse rule of logarithm, the logarithmic function we can get p upon 1 minus p is equal to exponent of b naught plus b1x. Now we can again do some simple shifting the sides, and then we can get this p is equal to 1 minus p into this. Then again we open the brackets and then we get this equation, and then we take p as common and we get this particular equation here, and then we get somehow this. It's then dividing the numerator and denominator by both by e to the power b naught plus b1x, we get this equation here finally. Then similarly, the equation for a logistic model with n predictors can be given as like this. So how many number of predictors are there, we can just keep on increasing those terms in the equation. Now we can do one example problem on the same. So here we have two predictor variables, x1 and x2. Two predictor variables are there, so the weights will be 3, b0, b1 and b2. b0 again is the bias, you can say. First we will take all three as 0, and then we use the main equation here, which will be prediction is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e to the power minus of b0 plus b1 x1 plus b2 x2. Now after getting this prediction, we will get something 0.5, and then we will check whatever the value we were supposed to get earlier. So for the first training instance, we were supposed to get y as 0, but we got 0.5. So now we will do it again. Now how do we manipulate the weights here? We manipulate by using the formula b is equal to b plus alpha into y minus prediction into 1 minus prediction into x. Alpha is nothing but the learning rate. So in this case, we have taken the learning rate to be 0.3. So b0 is equal to previous b0 plus 0.3 into 0 minus 0.5 into 0.5 into 1 minus 0.5 into x 0. Since x0 was not there, so we take 1. So similarly for b1, we take x1 here. So for b1, the new value will be previous b1 plus learning rate into y or actual y minus prediction into 1 minus prediction into x1. Then for b2, it will be b2 plus learning rate into actual y minus prediction into 1 minus prediction into x2. So this is one more formula that you have to keep in mind, because these numericals are a must. Then the coefficients calculated after 10 epochs will be something like this, and the prediction will be something like this, 0.29. So since this is less than 0.5, we can assume that this is somewhat 0. Then for the performance of logistic regression, we can say that to evaluate the performance of logistic regression model, we must consider a few metrics. First is AIC. So the analogous metric of adjusted R-square in logistic regression is AIC. So AIC is the measure of fit which penalizes model for the number of model coefficients. Therefore, we always prefer model with minimum AIC value. So whatever number of coefficients are there, that much penalty the model has to pay if we are using AIC measure. Now null deviance and residual deviance can also be used. Null deviance instances indicates that response predicted by a model with nothing but an intercept. Lower the value, better the model. And residual deviance indicates the response predicted by a model on adding independent variables. Now again, lower the value, better the model. So what is the difference between null deviance and residual deviance? Null deviance shows the predicted values when there is nothing but the intercept, but residual deviance shows the values after adding independent variables. Now receiver operating characteristic, which is ROC, summarizes the model's performance by evaluating the trade-offs between true positive rate and false positive rate. So this ROC curve is basically used to show the trade-offs between the true positives and the false positives. For plotting ROC, it is advisable to assume P to be greater than 0.5 since we are more concerned about success rate. So whenever P is greater than 0.5, it will be success. The area under curve referred to as index of accuracy or concordance index is a perfect performance metric for ROC curve. So whenever we are plotting ROC curve, AUC curve is a perfect performance metric. Now higher the area under the curve, better the prediction model or prediction power of the model. Now the ROC of a perfect predictive model has true positives equal to 1 and false positives equal to 0. Now here we can see here that we have our ROC curve here. So the closer it is to the top left corner, the better the model is. Then we can come to our cost function. In linear regression, we use the mean squared error, which was the difference between y predicted and y actual. Now this is derived from the maximum likelihood estimator. The graph here, we can see that this is a graph between error and cost function. So this global and local minima, whatever the global and local minima is, at this point our model works the best. So whenever the error is the least and cost is not much high, that global and local minima is the point at which our model is the best model we can make. Then what happens if we have a certain model like this, performing like this? Now here the global and local minimas are different. Earlier the global and local minima was the same point. Here the global minima and local minima is different. Now what do we do here? If we try to use the cost function of the linear regression in logistic regression, then it would be of no use, as it would end up being a non-convex function with many local minimas. Then in which it would be very difficult to minimize the cost value and find the global minimum. Now here also we can see that in logistic regression, we can see that this is a non-linear function, and by our sigmoid function only we can tell that this is a non-linear function. So y predicted is equal to 1 upon 1 plus e power minus z. If we put this in the above mean squared error equation, it will give a non-convex function like shown here. So it's something like this only, but more real. So for logistic regression, the cost function is defined as minus log of h theta of x. If y is equal to 1 and if y is equal to 0, we use 1 minus this. Then we can call it log loss. Log loss is the most important classification metric based on probabilities. It is hard to interpret raw log loss values, but log loss is still a good metric for comparing models. So if we are asked about the disadvantages, it is hard to interpret the raw log loss, but still it is a very good metric for comparing certain models. Now for any problem, a lower log loss value means better predictions. This is for almost every other value, every other metric used to check how the model works. This remains the same. A lower log loss value means better predictions. So how do we calculate log loss? We get minus 1 upon n, then sigma from I is equal to 1 to n, yi into log of p of yi plus 1 minus yi into log of 1 minus p of yi. So it is nothing but whatever the predicted value was there into the probability of the predicted value into the log of the probability of the predicted value plus this 1 minus predicted value into log of 1 minus probability of the predicted value. Now you can also say that this can be called as the log of probability of failure if this is the probability of success. So this is how you can remember this formula somewhat. Then this is again example code. I really don't think that this will be asked in the exam, but still let's just see what is happening. So we are doing nothing, we are just importing the libraries, then we are here reading some data set, then these are the columns here, features of the data set, then we are using this, we are labeling the variables here, and then we are we are splitting the training and test data, then we are importing logistic regression, and then we are fitting this. Okay, this is really not important. I'm pretty sure this is not gonna come anyway. So it is nothing, just it is just like how we did linear regression. We just have to import the function from the linear model library of sklearn. We have imported the function, we have initialized the function, now we have to fit the data in that, and then we need to predict the test data, and then we can from metrics only of sklearn we can just get the confusion matrix, and we can directly get the confusion matrix here, and that's all. We can predict the accuracy, precision, and recall, all of that using the confusion matrix easily. So yeah, metrics, accuracy score, precision score, and recall score, everything can be predicted easily there. And yeah, then we can also build this ROC curve here, so we can see that the curve is like this. If it had been more like this, it would have been a better model, but this is also not a very bad model, since the area under curve is 0.86, so I don't think it's much bad. So that was all. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you are studying well for the midsems.